Jasmin, you're not Marty.
No, I'm not. I'm not even as good looking, honestly. Same.
Well, thank you so much for filling in for Marty today because, well, Marty's out shooting animals, and that's what you do sometimes. According to Justin Trudeau a number of years ago, isn't that what he said? Sometimes you just got to go out in the woods and shoot something, and that's why they're never going to touch our guns. Well, they reneged on that, but we still got to go out in the woods sometimes and shoot stuff, and that's what Marty's out there doing. But thank you so much for joining the show this week because, well, I haven't had you in a while, and I
know. It's actually funny. I was talking to Josh from the Elevate podcast earlier today, and he was like, "Oh, you're going to be on with Clyde." I'm like, I actually have not had an in-depth conversation with Clyde in quite some time now that I think about it. It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
I thought we were fighting for a second, so I was like waiting for you to text me first or something. It's confusing.
Life gets busy, doesn't it? And you've been busy. Holy cow, have you ever? You were originally rostered to be at the We Unify conference, and then things came up. You're getting pulled this way and the other. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. It's been insanity. Lots of traveling, kind of like in Ottawa, Toronto, Nashville. Like I've just been all over the place the last little bit. I have Toronto coming up again in 2 weeks here. It's just chaotic and crazy. And I've never wished that I had like one of those fancy airline cards, where you can, you get like premium rates for things because you make a certain income that I don't. And you can sit in the cool booths and stuff. Been really wishing that I had that lately. Might have to lie about my income or something one of these days.
I've been given the card to get in the booth before. I'll tell you what, the booth isn't that great.
No.
Aww. You get in the booth and you think, oh, this is gonna be amazing. I've always been one of the plebeians outside, just looking in. You get in. And I'll tell you what, they don't even check you. So you just go in anyway.
Oh, this is some BS. What am I doing following the rules, honestly?
Right? It's the honor system for the most part. So yeah, go in, check it out. And you're like, oh, wow, okay, seats. Like that.
Cool.
A buffet with like catered food that's like, wow, poorly put together sandwich is great. Awesome, thanks. Yeah, that's really all that is. But in the future, you're probably going to have to show a special piece of ID when you go in for that. In fact, actually, if you're traveling in Europe, this is a new rule that just came about. I don't know if you heard about this, but the new rule is fingerprints, ID, all of this stuff is all coming into play. So we heard about the digital ID. We're going to get into that. But you just reminded me of something that popped up, and I'm going to pop this up on the screen because I'm totally unprepared and I didn't do this already. But let's have a look at this. So this came out. This is breaking news, apparently, as of yesterday, that the EU has some new travel restrictions.
If you're planning a trip to Europe, you're going to have to hand over way more than your passport when you get there. As part of a new entry-exit system, visitors to most European countries will have to provide 4 fingerprints and a facial photo at a self-operated kiosk. The information will be stored for 3 years, with the photo being used for ID verification on later visits. Travelers who refuse to provide their biometric data will be denied entry. The goal of the program is to enhance security and speed up border crossings, it is said. The new system is set to be rolled out over 6 months, starting in October, and applies to 29 countries, including popular destinations like France, Italy, and Spain. If you're planning a trip,
I don't know how popular those destinations are going to be after this. I know Americans don't like being asked for more than what's necessary, really. Now,
I get annoyed even having to like take off my shoes when I go through a metal detector.
The TSA does that. I don't get that in Canada ever, but yeah, the TSA does that. It is annoying. It's humiliating. Like, why my shoes, really? Because
like I'm wearing bare feet. What if somebody had a wart or something who walked on this same floor path before me? Like, this is not. I'm in flip flops. What am I hiding? This is crazy. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't like that idea. I'm not a big fan. But so as it turns out, the U.S. actually has been fingerprinting people for a long time.
Have they?
Oh yeah. But it's not a normal thing when you go in. It's usually if there's only certain circumstances where you'd have to do that. I know Japan, because I travel there quite often. They do one fingerprint. Like you have to do one finger. That's a thing. I'm not so much against that. If you're coming into the country, I want to make sure if a crime was committed by you, we've got some way to get you.
That was actually going to be my take on this too, because I feel that way also, where I don't like the idea of having to do it, but I want it to be done for people who are coming to my country, right? So we got to have a little bit of compromise there. Otherwise,
I'll tell you how creepy it is, though. So one time when I was traveling to Japan, I messed up and I let my Canadian passport lapse. So yeah, so I had to fly there on my U.S. passport, and I had my expired Canadian passport, but it's like you're not really supposed to have that. When I returned, it was funny because my family went into the returning to Canada as Canadians line. And I had to go into the foreigners line. The creepiest part about this, though, was I scanned my U.S. passport, and then it popped up, "Is this you?" with my Canadian passport. A picture
weird.
of it. Yeah.
That was so interesting.
Yes. So that freaked me out. I was not super keen on that. I don't know where the data came from, why that was able to cross-reference, but they were using a photo recognition as well, right? So there would have been my photo in person at the time, photo of on my ID, and then a cross-reference to my photo on my Canadian passport. Anyway, I got in trouble. I got scolded, right, by the security, whatever, going through the border. But this is something that's coming into play. This digital ID, and this is something that Keir Starmer, he announced this over the weekend. That was his big Friday announcement. We're bringing forward a digital ID. Now, Mark Carney is saying we're not going to do that. That's not something we have on our agenda. But as it turns out, the YouTube channel for the government actually has a digital ID set up.
What? What do you mean? 1 second here. Explain that to me.
Okay, I'll explain it. So Mark Garrettson actually pulled this one out. I have seen this before. It's on their YouTube channel. And sorry, not Mark Garrettson, Ryan Garrettson. Why do I always get that one mixed up? But Ryan Garrettson pointed this one out, and this is from the Canadian government's YouTube channel. Have a look at this.
Sometimes applying for government benefits can be a lengthy and complicated process. The Government of Canada's vision is to enable Canadians to use trusted digital identities for quick and easy access to online services. Emily's having a baby soon and is applying for benefits. Today, she has to complete an online application form, then wait 5 to 10 days for an access code. When it arrives in the mail, she will use it to create an account and set up direct deposit. What if she could do all this at once from any device? She'd confirm who she is using her provincial or territorial trusted digital ID, consent to using personal information from her digital ID, and may choose to receive notifications. Once approved, she'd decide how to get paid. That's it. The government's goal is to enable simple, fast, and convenient access to services anytime, anywhere, on any device. We're working with government and the private sector.
That's an ominous camera angle. I don't know why. I don't know why they use that. Like, we're bringing convenience, and then they have this angle that looks like Agent Smith overlooking some Canadian citizens agreeing to a thing. But this is what's happening. They're bringing it to Canadians with the guise of, we're going to give you more convenience. And it always is either convenience or security. As I think it was Thomas Paine that said, if you trade liberty for a little bit of security or convenience, you'll end up with neither. That's where you're at. What's your take on this whole digital ID thing?
Well, in terms of Canada, I was just going through Mark Carney's book Values over here. And, it's kind of funny. He actually has, I'm a highlighter type of a gal when I read. He actually has a couple of things in here that have a lot to do with how you can figure out how you can trust people and how to govern people. and to make sure that people are doing things right and you're not missing out on any major opportunities and all these different things. He doesn't mention specifically digital ID in here, but a lot of weird things. There's actually a whole chapter about a lot of that. Has to do with the new world, or the global new world, as he puts it. So I do certainly think that there is something to it. Secondly, though, he keeps talking about how much, we're going to be closer to the UK, the most European, non-European nation, all that stuff. And if you see the track they're going down, it's a little concerning. It's one of those things that's tricky, because I can certainly see the convenience of it. I mean, as an example, all of us, not all of us, but many people have face recognition on your cell phones, right? And it's convenience. You just do it. Yeah, whatever. It's annoying if you want to log into your banking and you haven't put on makeup yet. Clyde, you can totally relate to this. And
totally.
Your phone recognize you because you're actually a different person. So it's convenience, but what do you get in exchange for it? And in exchange for it, it seems to be, when it comes to government offering convenience or help, it's almost always more dependence, and really less security at the end of the day. So this sort of stuff, I can understand and show a compassionate side to the convenience of it for some. Overall, though, I actually don't know that it's quite worth it. And, if you even want to think about systems as a whole, in globally, even a lot of systems that are in place have actually worked, and they do work at the bare bones level that they're at, if you want to put it like that. And the reason why they stop working isn't because, technology has just advanced so hard and we can use all these other methods. It's because the way in which they were applied before that's not happening anymore. There's loopholes, or there's incompetence within certain sectors. And so that's something that I often think about with this. Like, why is it that suddenly in 2025 there's still tons of people on the globe, sure, but we've always been able to have a grasp on all sorts of different threats and situations and security and concerns and all this stuff? Why is it now that we need to introduce something that is slightly more violating, or incredibly more violating, depending on how you view it? Why? Why is that? Is it because the previous system doesn't work anymore, or is it because it's not being enforced? What is it really? That's kind of where my head goes with this stuff.
Well, it's the beauty of it. It's the beauty of it. And the beauty of this whole thing is that what they do is they create the problem, and then they provide you a solution for the problem that they've created. Yeah. And I got to show you the clip now, because now it all makes way more sense now that you've brought it into that prospect. If you maybe you haven't seen this clip, but this is Keir Starmer, the PM of the UK, describing why and what's going on here.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that. Because decent, pragmatic, fair-minded people, they want us to tackle the issues that they see around them. And of course, the truth is, we won't solve our problems.
What problem do you think they're tackling right there, Jasmin?
Mass immigration?
Yes, it's that. It's because there's a bunch of people who aren't legal to work in the UK, and they're there. And instead of the government doing their job and protecting the borders and stopping the boats from coming in, they're now saying that, well, we need to have this digital ID because the digital ID will stop them from coming if they can't get jobs. That's the solution.
That's so crazy how that works, hey? Wowza. Yikes. I hate all of that. And again, we created a problem, and now we're punishing the everyday citizen for the problem that we created, rather than, I don't know, fix it, which you can do. You can absolutely do that. Even, as an example, Donald Trump, what he's doing in DC, what he has proposed for Chicago and stuff. A lot of people are against that. And I can show compassion for people who are against it. They don't like it. They think it's overreach. It's kind of scary. It's intense. But at the end of the day, you're taking care of the problem. There is a problem that was created and you're fixing it, period. And you are well within your right as a government to do whatever is in the best interest of your people, period. And sometimes that's a little intense. And that's kind of the end result of what happens when somebody doesn't take care of a problem and they do things to instigate said problem under the guise of compassion, you know? So yeah, you know what? The end result is a little intense. It's a little scary and intimidating. Goes very viral on the internet because it's intense. There's a reason for that. It's because the problem's gotten that bad. And so that's the part it's just really frustrating. It's just really, really frustrating to me how all of that has transpired, especially in Europe over the last number of years. It's absolute insanity to me. I cannot possibly rationalize it unless I'm rationalizing it in the way of the intent is always to have more control. And, you know, honestly, I think even to, I'll kind of shift this a little bit back, still keeping in line with the UK actually, but shifting it back a little bit to Canadian politics. There's all of these like, oh, there's been such a rise in hate. We have such a rise in violence. There's such a rise in racism. Sorry if I'm not allowed to say that word on here. I forget YouTube's no word sometimes.
Go for it.
There's all of these rises and these things. And the response to that is not to maybe think a little bit harder when you're bringing in people from regions of the world that have historical, oftentimes very violent altercations with each other. That's not the end result. Oh, we aren't going to do that because that's probably bad for our people, right? Oh, nah, screw it. We're going to bring everybody in instead. And then we're going to call you all ists and phobes. And we're going to have all these activists running the government instead. And then we're going to put forth these bills because everybody's just so hateful. I wonder why, if you've ever read a history book when it comes to certain regions. And it's your fault. The everyday person now has to be censored more. You have to be governed harder. You have to be controlled more by us because we know what's best for you, which is just absurd. And I kind of take that into the same thing when it comes to mass immigration and digital ID. Think about the crazy laws that they have in the UK where people are being arrested just for sharing something that is perceived as ist or phobic on their social media accounts. And it's like the everyday person that gets targeted for a problem that was very much created by the government. And the government doesn't have the cojones to actually take care of that and solve that. And so they go to the next best thing, which is like, oh, hey, we just want some more control, but look at how much we're helping you because of it. You should thank us because we're helping you. Hoping that everybody just forgets, and unfortunately, people do. The reason why
call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think that these things are brought about because they have an alternative solution to these problems, and not that these problems are holy cow, we just got this problem come in and we've got to deal with it now as the government. No, it's like they know that this will be the problem. The solution will be that
end result. Yeah.
Now, what's not an obvious end result is what Donald Trump did in the United States, which is the outlier, and which is actually something that we can use as proof that this is what they were trying to do, and it was thwarted. And there's another way to take care of it. And when the governments come to you all over the world and they say, no, digital ID is the way we can thwart this massive immigration, you say, no, maybe hiring a Donald Trump for the job is how you get rid of this mass immigration. And we don't have to infringe on people's civil liberties. And we don't have to allow people to have roughshod on our streets and do all of this stuff and allow for crime to just go crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the policy of open borders and the policy of, bail for everybody, no money bail, and just, turnstile justice system, kick them right back out on the street to commit more crimes. And we need to have something like a 3 strikes you're out. We need to have something like, sorry, but you've committed a violent felony and you don't get bail. You just don't get it at all. Mm-hmm. That's it. You get to sit and await your trial. But these are the solutions that people are crying for, and these aren't the solutions that are being offered. But in the United States, this is what we're seeing. And so the media turns around and villainizes anyone who's trying to do this. The digital ID people are the heroes, and the people on the other side. And now it gets crazy, too, because you go down that digital ID rabbit hole, and where does it take you? It takes you where the Davos people if you read their writings, they love this stuff because they look to China and they say, that's the ideal society. We want to get closer to that. You know, the stuff that came out of Chairman Mao, I don't know, hundreds of millions dead. And then years later, they adopted more of and I would argue, a fascist strategy and a surveillance state, like something that Orwell didn't even envision. It's just absolutely insane. I got a clip here from a news broadcast where they're talking about what it would be like to live under having a digital ID and a surveillance state. Here we go.
Everywhere she goes, Ouyang Haoyu is followed. What she buys, how she behaves, is tracked and scored to show how responsible and trustworthy she is. It's called the social credit system, and in one version now being tested, a person's reputation is scored on a scale of 350 to 950. And Haoyu, with a good score of 752, is okay with it. In fact, most people are.
It's a mechanism like pushes you to become a better citizen.
It's big data meets Big Brother, expanding how the government monitors, understands, and ultimately controls its 1.4 billion citizens. Thanks to advances in artificial intelligence and facial recognition, and a web of more than 200 million surveillance cameras.
Are people bothered by privacy concerns?
We think the lot of camera keep the safety is really good. We can accept it.
Companies are experimenting with the algorithms to help the government create the new national social credit system. The government also has pilot projects. In one, citizens are required to do hours of unpaid work to get benefits.
Unpaid work
and
to get
scores
benefits.
are docked for things like littering, a messy yard, gossip, even jaywalking.
Do you hear that? Gossip and jaywalking, you can get docked for points. Now, on this Chinese social credit system, there are a number of
How do
journalists.
they know if you're gossiping? Sorry, what if you're just telling the truth? What if one of your friends really sucks and you're just being honest about it?
Well, this is the brutal part about it. It's arbitrary. It's pernicious. It's authoritarianism. So they're the ones who decide if you're gossiping or not. You might just be trying to get the word out about a thing.
Yeah.
You're
Hey,
absolutely
by the way,
right.
your wife cheated on you.
Stop gossiping.
Yeah. We're docking you 100 points.
Well, and what's crazy is if you score really low in this credit system, you can be unpersoned. So you'll lose lose your access to transportation. You'll lose your access to banks. We've heard of that here in Canada. This is the route that they're going. And I know, like, people want to say, where's the tinfoil hat, Clyde? This is crazy. But we've been saying this. I'm doing a Donald Trump. I don't know why I'm doing the Donald Trump. But we've been saying this for years. And here it is. And people are still like, well, I mean, it's not that bad.
It's just a theory. They're just testing it out. It's not a big deal. That's the thing, though, right? Is all these things, they slow drip it to you. It's always so slow. And at first, when there's people who are, I want to say self-aware enough, perhaps educated enough, who have maybe, like, I don't know, read the book of Revelation, if you're religious, like who call these things out, and they're like, that's weird. And then you get villainized and shamed and smeared for it. And, oh, you're a threat. It's because you don't care about safety, or you don't want, like, oh, you must be a criminal. Anybody who is against this is obviously doing something bad. No, I'm not, actually. Maybe I just think this is kind of weird, and I don't think this is what humanity was supposed to be like. I actually don't think this is how people are supposed to live. I think we're a free human, and, you know, there are already rules and laws in place that should be followed. Rules that if you don't follow on a societal level will see you ostracized from your community for actually doing bad things, not just for not wanting to hang a pride flag year round. Like, laws in place for when you actually do something with malintent that's harmful or whatever it may be. There's such a laundry list that something will actually happen to you. Like, go off.
So it's just, you mentioned the pride flag. You don't want to hang pride flags. I don't know if you heard the news from Michigan. They banned pride flags from one municipality.
Oh, I didn't hear that. No.
Yes, and nobody's raising a stink about it. Well, can you guess why? The municipality has become majority Muslim. And And
that's a hard wake-up call, isn't it?
yeah. So
how is the backlash? That's fascinating. What is the backlash of that?
Zero. Everyone's quiet. Everyone's not saying a thing.
Man, that is so cool. I wish I had that kind of power. Jealous. Why did I have to be born as a Caucasian woman? This is BS. I don't get anything.
Well, because people are afraid of the political violence that comes with criticizing Islam. I mean, let's just cats out of the bag. That's why. So all those years back, you may recall, there was a bunch of malarkey. Like everyone got all upset because there was a Christian baker that didn't want to do a gay wedding cake.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, it's like, just go to another baker. Like, who cares? Like, you don't like that guy? He doesn't like you. Who cares? End of story. But then that became a big thing. It was Steven Crowder who went to Michigan, where there's all these Muslim communities, and he went to a bunch of Muslim bakers and asked the same thing, and none of them would do the gay cake. But was there any backlash about that? Well, of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not. So yeah,
actually, it's one of those things, and I just have to say this, and this is going to be the most risky thing I'll ever say on your show, probably. And it's just risky for me because I don't like to dabble in this a whole lot, but it is honest or whatever. But and here we are as well on the 3 week to the day, I want to say anniversary, but it's not a really happy one, of Charlie Kirk. And I recall having a conversation with a family member of mine, one of those family members who's really well educated and not in an echo chamber at all, and then just regurgitates headlines. God bless her. But one of the things that she had said to me about Charlie Kirk was, well, Jasmin, do you actually believe in everything that he stood for? And I said, not everything. No, he was more hardcore or less lenient on some things than I am. But I would say as a whole, I'm a Christian woman. I do my best to live a good life and to think a lot before things come out of my mouth. I would say overall, yeah, I agree with him on most things. Might have some different endpoints or whatever, but for the most part, yeah. And she was like, well, how could you do that? Because he's just filled with hate. And I don't want my son growing up in a world that's filled with hate. And she was referring specifically to how he was when it came to the LGBTQIA2S plus community, as well as, how he was when it came to migrants and all these things. And she just went on this big roll about all these things that he's so hateful about. And the only thing I could think of in my head was the fact, like, bro, literally almost anybody who is a part of a religious group and devoutly follows it believes in that. Everybody does. So why are you pinning it just on him? I'm like, do you not recognize the same refugees that you're calling for me to be really sympathetic for? They believe in the same stuff that he does. If anything, I'm more welcoming and accepting to them than you are, apparently, because you think that was good that happened. And I think it was horrible that that happened to a man who was just devout in his faith and sharing what he believed in. But it's like the hypocrisy knows no bounds. And the worst part is people don't even see it. They just say and do the most crazy things, and they don't even see what's pointing them right in their face, and how they can be so proud of a movement, so proud of, a new policy or something like that, and then villainize people against it and call them all sorts of names. Meanwhile, the people who they're protecting, it's the exact same thing, but they don't see the same judgment ever. It's the weirdest thing in the world to me.
What's amazing to me is how prevalent the smears are, right? Because, we saw it with Donald Trump. People say, oh, he's a racist. He said that both sides were when it came to the Charlotte thing that happened, the very fine people hoax. It's not what he said, but, and all you had to do is play 5 seconds on either side of that clip and you understood the full context. They did that on purpose and they put that out there. But people keep saying that Charlie Kirk hated gay people.
Yeah.
He didn't. In fact, no. I got a clip here that proves just that. He actually had someone come in to one of his, sorry about that. He had one of the people come in to one of his events and say that gays shouldn't be allowed in the conservative movement. And he totally just gave the guy the gears. I'll play a portion of the clip.
Slippery slope fallacy if I've ever seen one. First of all, I've never invited a drag queen to come to any Turning Point USA event. I was at Politicon, and an individual by the name of Lady MAGA came up, and I took a picture, and she walked away. Secondly, let me ask you a question. Are you a Trump supporter?
Yes, sir.
So are you a proud Trump supporter?
Of course.
So are you sickened that he had a gay man speak at his convention?
Yes.
Then you're not a Trump supporter, my friend. Thank you very much. Let me ask you another question. Should he return the money of Peter Thiel, an openly gay man who supports his campaign?
No, if it helps him strategically,
Okay.
sure, he can.
Should he stop talking to Tammy Bruce, who's an open lesbian that's a Fox News contributor?
If it's affecting his ideas, then probably, yeah.
Okay, so you say you're a Trump supporter, yet you have all these issues and these disagreements with him. Let me be very clear about my position. My personal position, I'm a Christian first and foremost, then an American, then a constitutionalist, then a conservative, in that order. I believe marriage, biblically, if we want to have a biblical and theological discussion, as articulated in the greatest book ever to exist in the history of the world, the Holy Bible. Marriage in the Holy Bible is one man, one woman. I also do not believe in the sort of rhetoric that some people engage in, that all of a sudden that they say there's no place for gay people in the conservative movement. I do not believe that. And let me ask you a question. Can I ask you a question then?
Sure, go for it.
So, the American family, liberty, freedom, the Constitution, our history, veterans. That's what we're conserving. I'll get to you later, though. Don't worry.
He's fast.
So let me ask you a question. What if you had your way? What would you do with gay people in America?
What would I do with them?
Because they're not allowed in the conservative movement. So would you just kick them out anytime they show up at a Republican Party? If you were in charge, like what would you say? You can't be part of the Republican Party.
If somebody is advocating for being openly homosexual, yeah, they should not be part of the conservative movement.
So I just want to go through the list. Guy Benson, no place in the conservative movement. Dave Rubin, no place in the conservative movement. Peter Thiel, no place in the conservative movement. So that just to go down the list.
If they are supporting open homosexuality.
So I'm going to ask a very respectful question, as respectfully as I can. What does what they do in their private life concern you so much that you have to go up in front of a crowd? And
it is against God. That is
so. Let me ask you a question.
Okay, so he keeps going. Anyway, you can see that he's very supportive of people, even if they have different lifestyles, even if they have different differing things. And that's the whole idea. It's like, you know, you have freedom of conscience, you have freedom of religion, you have all these other things, but you don't have freedom. You don't have the right to infringe on other people's freedom of conscience and to live the way they want to live. And that's. Man, he lived by that. He stood by that. And yet so many people are still saying the same lies that they've said about him that led to the shooter being so indoctrinated and so angered and so enraged that he decided to take a high-powered rifle up onto a roof to take Charlie's life. And that's just, to me, that's where the real evil is. The real evil is the people knowingly lying about this stuff, knowingly telling mistruths, and guiding people in the wrong way, and stoking this fear and stoking this anger against people. That if you really look at what Charlie had, it was always welcome, and it was always full of love. Absolutely.
Well, and I also too, I do fully agree with that stance as well of, you know, I am my own human. I'm here on my own mission. I'm doing my own thing. I love you. I respect you. I'm here for you. I believe in what I believe in. Hope you come around on some topics if need be. But at the end of the day, like, my job on this earth is not to try to pretend that I am a god over you and telling you how to live your life. That's not it at all. That's not who I serve. That's not what my role is on this planet. And I think that Charlie Kirk really did such a beautiful way of showing that as example. And for sure, there's definitely clips of his, you know, where he got a little off the rails. He get frustrated if somebody's yelling at him or something like that, but never ever in a way that could have ever justified the slander that he received and is still receiving post-mortem. Like it's so filthy. I don't know how else to describe it. And it does really open your eyes to, you know, kind of even going back to digital ID, people who are welcoming of that. And they think it's good. They think, oh yeah, it'll be cool. It's good for governments to do that because there is a crowd. This will be better. This will help us with all these problems. And it's like, how do you actually rationalize with people like that? How? Because I think that ultimately is one of the biggest issues that we face right now. And I think it's going to be a really long uphill battle with that one, because there's a lot of people that truly, for lack of better words, are incredibly indoctrinated, and they don't think, and emotions don't think, and governments play on that. And we're in a really tricky spot no matter what at the moment. And that's really scary. I'll say it's not fun. And I wish us good luck.
Well, it's terrifying because, well, we just saw like what China has done with the social credit system and with digital ID. Digital ID is just the first step. You have then central bank digital currencies, which we have seen in the works, and it's been mentioned a bunch. And then social credit. Well, here's one of the Davos, I don't know, gremlins here talking about that exactly.
You call him a gremlin? That's awesome.
I mean, what else do you call these people?
I like that.
So introducing it, but doing it with the flavor, actually a favorite of Mark Carney's, the climate.
We're developing through technology an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Tracker. They want to track you, Jasmin. That's what they're working on. I was thinking, he's listing all those things off. I was filling in the blanks. I was thinking Nunya, and none of your business. Like, it's absolutely none of your business what I'm doing with my time, my travel, everything. It's none of your business. And but that's it. It really is the what would you call it? The land of busybodies. Like it reminds me of hall monitors, in school where they're like, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, never mind where I'm going. I want to see your pass. Well, forget it. The hall monitors, their whole reason why they wanted to have that job was so they could tattle on people.
Yeah.
And this is motivation where motivation lies, right? That was their whole purpose, and this is the purpose of this ilk. And I'm disgusted by it, and I don't want a system to be in place where those people are put in power.
No, not at all. It's really funny because that is something that Mark Carney has written about in his book, which I highly encourage everybody to buy. And if you're hesitant of it because you don't want to pay Mark Carney any money, just a heads up, his publisher makes the vast majority of money from sales. He gets basically nothing after all is said and done with all the taxes and everything.
All the money's in Brookfield.
Yeah, honestly, really, who cares? But what's actually really funny about this is I was trying to point out something here, and they're actually, it's this too, just to kind of signal again where these people are at, which can make you terrified or terrified or encouraged, because if you know what these people are thinking and doing, you can at least fight against them. You're at least well educated and you know what you're up against. But literally, as soon as I opened up his book, I immediately came to a section, it's around page 30, where he starts talking about Karl Marx. And I'm like, oh, Lord, of course. While I'm trying to find this thing where he was talking about almost exactly what that guy was saying, I flip open to a page where he's ranting and raving about how awesome Karl Marx is. Oh my gosh.
Well, that says a lot about the guy. Doesn't he mention like 30 times in the book?
Quite a few times, yeah. Well, there's a whole chapter where he mentions Karl Marx and a couple of other philosophers, theologists from the same time period. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of reference to Karl Marx, both direct and indirect. If you're familiar with Karl Marx's work, there's little pieces you can pick out for sure where you're like, that's a Karl Marx thing. Which, funny enough, is very much admired by so many authoritarian, totalitarian, dictatorial governments around the globe. Crazy. It's scary, dude. That's how I feel for the most part. Like I quite literally, I'm so tired of being called names for knowing and for like really deeply thinking about so many of these things, and for seeing them laid out and slow drip to us. And I've just rejected at this point. There was something especially, and I've been feeling this way forever, but something after Charlie Kirk especially, where I was like, no, don't care anymore. I don't care. I'm going all in. I don't care what anybody calls me. I'm going in, baby. Like, I know that I am well researched. I know what I know. And I'm eager to learn what I don't know. And it's really scary that you have people who are so closely affiliated with organizations like the WEF, who are so tentacles deep in all sorts of things across the globe, like all sorts of activist movements, lobbyist groups, prime ministership. It's just absurd, and it's really scary, because if you even just go on the World Economic Forum, or I would encourage you as well, if you're somebody who's politically active and you like to practice democracy, sign up for the World Economic Forum newsletters, because wow, those are something.
All right.
Oh, baby. Tells you all their fun little plans and ideas, and it's just crazy. And, you know, it actually kind of reminds me, I had a phone call with Pierre Poilievre a while back, and I was talking with him about the World Economic Forum. And the one piece of advice he gave me is, he was like, you know, you don't even have to say anything if you're presenting a story in a crazy way. You can literally just read what they write verbatim, and that's crazy enough. And I was like, that's such a good point, isn't it? But they do these things so boisterously and with so much confidence. And those are actually the people who are in power and want more of it. And I'm just like, how much more can we give you? Honestly, like, you have taken almost everything from us. What do you mean?
Yeah, I remember reading their articles about Sri Lanka and how switching to a fertilizer-free farming system was going to be the boon. Like, it was going to be amazing, and they were going to have so much growth, and they collapsed. They collapsed only a few years later. It's really sad. And now look at what the situation is for them. They collapsed. Their government basically got run out, and now they owe a tremendous amount of money to China because of what the World Economic Forum encouraged them to get into by buying a whole new port, or building a whole new port on Chinese borrowed money. So yeah, watch out for what's happening. These are the things. And we were going through the same thing in Canada. It's been kind of on hold, but going after farmers and their fertilizer use, ammonia going into the water. So I'll tell you one thing: if you're a farmer and a drop of ammonia goes not into your crops, you're losing money. So farmers don't like losing money because their margins are so small. So yeah, they've got John Deeres and all this with satellites that make sure they're not wasting it. They're following the weather patterns so that it's not going to be runoff. But these are excuses for the government to come in and control the land. It's the same thing that they did in the Netherlands. It was the same thing. They backed off, I think, because of what happened in the Netherlands, and they saw that riling up in Canada. But Canada has gone back to sleep. Like, what do you think about that after this last election? I know a lot of people dismayed, kind of dissuaded from even engaging in politics. A lot of people just checked out entirely. Oh, forget it.
I don't blame people at all for checking out for a short period of time, recoup, get some rest, but then get back on out there. I know that there's a lot of people out there who just want to leave, and that is your decision to make as a free human, and I support you no matter what. But I also
I'll see you later.
Okay, bye. Well, everybody, welcome back to the Jasmin Show here.
Yeah. Well, that is my plan. I mean, I'm leaving. I'm taking off. Yes.
There really are so many. I know so many people with public facing positions on the internet, as well as private citizens. I know so many people who are doing that. But I really do think that I don't know how else to describe it, but every once in a while you get a nice little glimmer of like, oh yeah, that's what this is. That's who we are. And it does make me feel really hopeful. And I think, like I said, there's a really long uphill battle to go. I'm feeling really inspired and really encouraged. And I think the longer that things happen, and hopefully it doesn't get to the point where it's too late. And in that case, hasta la vista, baby. But for now, I do think that there still is some sort of a recovery. I think things just take time. I don't know. That's such a loaded question because there's so many layers to it. But I do have hope. And And I just feel like there's no freaking way that I'm going to let this guy who wrote this crappy book called Values take over my country. Go away. Like, find a ghostwriter and go write another book. I don't know. Leave me alone. Get out of my life. And I'm not letting you have this. Get wrecked, dude.
Get wrecked, indeed. And then there's the other side of it. There's the people that are hopeful that a savior will come. And you know what's funny is, like, people call it
like Jesus savior, or like
well, that would be fantastic. Not another Mark Carney, but you know, there's Trump derangement syndrome, and then there is a bit of a Trump savior syndrome out there. Some people think that Donald Trump is, and I think he's joking when he does this. I honestly think he is, but he just pulled it again. He just pulled it again recently, where he decided to talk about Canada being the 51st state. Here's the clip here.
And we've begun construction on what we call the Golden Dome missile defense shield. It'll be the most sophisticated in the world. You watched it do well until they had some problems at the end with a little bit of a lack of ammunition, defensive ammunition, but they've got that taken care of. But I tell you, it's what we're doing is so good, and we deserve it. You know, we help other countries with it. We don't have it ourselves. And Canada called me a couple of weeks ago. They want to be part of it. To which I said, well, why don't you just join our country? You become 51, become the 51st state, and you get it for free. So I don't know if that made a big impact, but it does make a lot of sense. It actually makes, because they're having a hard time up there in Canada now, because as you know, with tariffs, everyone's coming into our country. We have more investment than we've ever had before, $17 trillion coming in. As an example, in 4 years, Biden didn't have $1 trillion. We have 17 trillion more than that in 8 months.
And he's not kidding. Honestly, he's not kidding. Breaking news just today. GM to move 750 jobs from Oshawa to Indiana. 1750 jobs if you include part suppliers, all the lists of different things that come along with that. That's big news. That's big news. And what is Carney doing? Well, he's gonna throw some money at
subsidies. We're investing with because $500 million in loans is going to make us an economic superpower.
And this is the company that the CEO of Algoma Steel said there is no practical foreign markets beyond the U.S. for that company. So throwing $500 million at that company is not going to save the company.
No.
Like, let's just be realistic.
It buys them time, hoping that the Carney government is going to do something.
But he's a one-trick pony, right? He has nothing but lower interest rates and subsidies. The John Maynard Keynes cure, do all, end all for economic woes. Stimulate the. I mean, this is what Justin Trudeau said that everyone criticized, but he just came out and said it, the ridiculous part, out loud. We'll stimulate the economy, and then the budget will balance itself, right? This is what Carney is doing.
They tried that with mass immigration too. It looks really good on like your Q1 report. It doesn't look so good long term though.
Holy cow, you nailed it right there. You absolutely nailed it right there. There's an article that came out from Better Dwelling just this week. I can't show this enough, but this is Canadians moving abroad hits new record as the country fails to compete. And in this, they even say this. This is just unbelievable. Right here, policymakers tend to shrug this off, focusing on net population gains when one lost human capital tax isn't a problem if we can attract two more, right? Unfortunately, it's clear to any non-psychopath, they actually wrote this in there, that swapping one skilled worker for two retirees or for an outgoing doctor for 5 students isn't an equal trade. This is what's happening in Canada. The logic they're embracing is more fitting for a pump and dump stock market scam than governance. I love their writing, by the way.
I've never heard of them before, and I literally typed that in while we were talking here.
Yes, look them up. They're great writing. But that's the reality of the situation. We're as we have the brain drain checking out, the government's like you said, just turn the tap on immigration, and then we'll have more taxpayers to pay all these unfunded liabilities that we've got. It's not going to fly. It can't work.
You know, I have so many thoughts on that in particular. It's something that I've been researching at length lately. And it's one of the things that makes me feel the most frustrated with some of the implementations. And, you know, so today, as an example, I'm sure you've seen it, but Premier Danielle Smith has said, you know what, we are going to be the proponent to get an oil pipeline. We're going to get it onto Tidewater. It's been this whole big thing. There's been massive meltdowns because of it. David Eby, somebody needs to check his heart rate. He is not okay. But it's something that I keep thinking of where, you know, the government keeps on saying things like, we're going to be an economic superpower. Yeah, we're going to be great. This is going to be so great for Canadian jobs. We're going to do all these things. But every single thing that they do is a gamble. It's all a fantasy. It's all money to help things that are failing, that are stuck in a corporate welfare bubble. And the things that are working, they're making it really difficult for things to actually happen and be successful. And it makes me wonder, I'm like, you guys keep talking about how we have a trade war with Trump. Oh yeah, we're gonna leapfrog other economies by introducing carbon credits. What? Like, what are you talking about right now? Also, by the way, by introducing carbon credits in which everybody trades with, and like the U.S. as an example, it's a
net cost. It's a net cost carbon credits. You're not going to help anybody by increasing their costs.
It's so dumb to me, but you keep like saying all of this stuff, and it's like, how on earth? And I really do believe that there's so many people where this is kind of starting to click now, and not quite at the length or speed I'd like for it to, but it's like, how on earth can you say all of these things and promise all of these things while doing everything in your power to ensure that we continue to remain dependent on the United States? What? And also, for the record, as if being dependent on the States is even a bad thing, like every country that exists in the world has their main trading partner as one particular country for the most part. Outside of Europe, I know that they have a couple of different people. I know Germany is a pretty big manufacturer in terms of exports for a lot of other European nations. But Mexico is the U.S., Australia is China, Canada is the U.S. There's nothing weird about that, actually. That's not weird. That's how the world works. And when you have good diplomacy, when you have good relationships, when you don't spend multiple years smashing somebody because you think it's funny and it's winning you political points because you don't think they're ever actually going to win an election again, and then oops, they're in. Like, yeah, that's what happens, dude. That's what happens when you go and spend. You go and send the Afghanistan people, like since 2021, and the Canadian embassy was removed from Afghanistan in 2021, by the way, they have sent upwards of $250 million to essentially the Taliban because we don't have an embassy there for women and girls empowerment. Did you not see what the Taliban just did for women and girls recently? They're only allowed to see out of one eye now. They're not actually getting them removed. They have a thing with their blinders where they have one covered. It's a thing. It was a ruling. This came out like 2 months ago from the leader of the Taliban that women are only allowed to see with one eye. Well, where did all of my hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars go? Weird. Why the hell did you send it for women and girls empowerment to begin with? If that's something you really care about, why don't you, I don't know, get them out of there perhaps? Oh, wait, but we don't have anywhere to put them. There's just so many things that it's just not viable. Nothing about it is viable. You keep spending money on the most absurd, ridiculous things. What are you doing? And then the one thing that does work, you're villainizing and shaming and trying to not have us be successful with. It's almost as if, this is a theory, that you may or may not be just trying to make sure that Brookfield Asset Management has as little competition as humanly possible so that their profits are as good as possible. That's where that probably, maybe, hypothetically, allegedly leads me down.
Yeah, well, that's the crazy part. So Trump has brought in, I think, $17 trillion worth of investment into the United States. I mean, some of that was like huge single purchase investments, right? So SoftBank, for example, which is not a bank from Japan, it's a media company, or they're a communications company. So they provide cell phones and things like that in Japan, and they brought in what, $500 billion? Like it's stupid amounts of money. Stupid amounts of money.
Did you ever see the 100 days comparison? So,
no.
And not all of these were actually signed on the dot, to be fair. A lot of them were similar to everything that Mark Carney's done. It's like a letter of intent. Great. Yeah, Mom, I'm totally going to go to school tomorrow. Let me sign this letter of intent.
Right.
But so they, as far as I can tell though, and I haven't, some of the earlier deals I'm not 100% sure of, but as far as I can tell, these are all things that are absolutely in stone. They're very much legitimate. Nothing has pulled out.
Actual contracts.
Yeah, like they're legit. But so in Donald Trump's first 100 days, and again, you can love or hate Donald Trump. I don't particularly care. That's irrelevant. What do I care about? The economy. And this is the facts. In Donald Trump's first 100 days, there was around $2.1 trillion signed over things that were going to be future projects, different deals, partnerships, whatever. In Mark Carney's first 100 days, what did we get? We sent Indonesia a promise of just shy of $1 billion, right? What else did we get? Oh yeah, probably at least probably over 1 million now of all those trips to the UK. What have we actually gotten in those 100 days? Like, wake up. What is happening here? It's so in your face, and all you have to do is just open your eyes and look at it. Like it's just there. It's so obvious.
Well, in all fairness, Mark Carney did secure 43 different contracts. They're all with Brookfield, but he did secure 43 different. I'm not kidding. Not kidding. It's unbelievable. And not only that, you brought up Danielle Smith and her excitement with the pipeline and what's happening there. I'm sharing this one. Okay, I got that one on the screen. This is Danielle Smith saying, today Alberta's government announced that it will be taking the first steps towards building a new oil pipeline to the West Coast using technical advances, blah, blah, blah. We're doing it. We've got this going. Notable critique on this one, Keith Wilson. You may know him, lawyer, extraordinary lawyer in Canada, says, I wish I could be more supportive of this, but I can't cheer for taxpayer-funded pipelines. True progress when private investment drives Canadian energy again. Until then, until the Carney Liberals scrap their tanker ban, production caps, and net zero mandates and anti-pipeline laws, any approved pipeline by a major project office risks being an empty pipeline to nowhere. Like there's no point having a pipeline if you can't put oil or gas in it. It's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And this is the reason why companies are just going, nah, not going to do it. There's this concept brought forward by the Mises School, or the Austrian School of Economics. They call it regime uncertainty. Investors don't want it. There's investment flight out of Canada in the tune of billions and tens or even hundreds of billions of dollars lately.
I think confirmed by StatsCan, the most recent one was like 54 billion, but it's definitely above that because that report is old. But
these
number
are quarterly reports as well. So this is like every 3 months. This is what's happening.
It's really bad. And it's one of those things, again, that just shocks me. And so many people will say, well, oh, yeah, sure, it always has to be oil. Yeah, it does actually, because that's what we have, and it works. It actually works really well, despite the rhetoric. Turns out there's actually a really high demand for it globally. And you know what? Even if you really love windmills, do you want to know how those things are powered, like the backup generators and all that stuff? Right. It is, in fact, natural gas. Craziest thing. Like there's so many of those. Oh, what about the manufacturing? It's funny, actually, that Mark Carney and David Eby, David Eby especially funny. We just really want to have more solar power, and we want to do things economically green. We're a green, clean fighting machine. You know what's weird about that is, even as an example, actually, Tim Houston from Nova Scotia, the premier of Nova Scotia, he was bragging about his government has it's a huge deficit. I might get this wrong. It's like 1.2 or 2.1 billion dollars of a deficit. And he was saying that he was really proud of it because they just launched this new windmills. They have offshore windmills that they're doing. He's so happy about it. There's a lot of concerns about that in general. Go and take a look at what they do to whales as an example, or all of the birds that they kill. But hey, environmental stuff, hey, climate change. But what's really fascinating about windmills as an example, which is something I've heard a lot of different premiers throughout the country talk about, is that 96% of the components of windmills are actually produced in China. Yeah, so much for Canadian jobs, hey? There's just all these things where you just, again, we're talking about digital ID, we're talking about China, we're talking about the World Economic Forum, and then all of these things, for whatever reason, just always seem to kind of go back to each other. And it just makes absolutely no sense to me at all, because it's nonsensical. That's why. And if somebody has to explain to me why it makes more sense to, give a $500 million again to an EV battery plant that's closing up shop, it's because it doesn't make sense. Like, what are you doing and what is your plan? And that's why I say, and I don't say this lightly, like I've put in so many hours, and I know you have as well, so many hours of research into this stuff, and it all points you in a direction. And you can try to be like, nah, don't go down that rabbit hole. That sounds really conspiratorial. But eventually you just have to, again, open your eyes and just see what's staring you right in the face. And it's so frustrating. I did want to say one point, though, to Premier Danielle Smith. And while I have had her on my show before, I don't have like a regular talking relationship with her. So this is literally just my hypothesis on it. I agree. I think it's really unfortunate that it's come to a place where a province has to say that we're going to allocate funds to this just to get the ball rolling here. I was listening to her on CBC, I think it was earlier today. It might have been CTV. She was on both. And she had said that she's hoping to have an answer by November, ideally, about whether or not this will make the approved list. And I completely agree with the criticisms that it's really unfortunate that that's coming out of taxpayer money. That is too bad. That's really what we would like to avoid. However, I do wonder, and I think it's possible that she is, I feel like she's maybe testing the waters here with this, because the one criticism from David Eby and even actually from some of the ministers, I know Tim Hodgson, our Minister of Energy and Critical Minerals, I know that he has mentioned before too how there's no proponents. It's always that there's no proponents. And the reason why there's no proponents is because we don't have an investment environment
that's right,
that makes any sense. That's why. No, but we have Bill C-5. That doesn't really fix any of that. And it still costs a lot of money to draft plans and proposals. Nobody's going to do that when they've previously been told no, when they can just go do that in the US and be offered subsidies and a better quality of life, a lower cost of living in some cases. That's not realistic. And so I almost feel as though she is playing the system a little bit to see, like, okay, here we are. What are you going to do? Are you still going to say no? That's kind of my curiosity. And she even said when she was speaking with David Cochrane, I believe from CBC today, she had mentioned something to that effect where she said, I don't know what the response will be if the answer is no, because every other province gets something and Alberta doesn't. And I don't know how that's going to go over. And so to me, kind of hearing that and seeing all of that, again, it's really unfortunate. It's with taxpayer dollars, but I'm curious about the long game, I should say, for that.
Jasmin, it's been an hour. Can you believe that? That's crazy. It went by so fast.
It was my goal not to talk a lot today.
No, you're good at it. You're good at it. Keep doing it. So for everyone who's watching right now, we're going to get into the Q&A part of this. But if you're watching this after the fact, you missed it. The Q&A is live. You got to check that out. But if you want to see it after the fact, you have to be a member of the channel, and that's available to you. Otherwise, just enjoy this podcast, and we'll see you all in the next one. But if you're watching this live, stick around. Don't take off. If you're on Twitter, and you're probably watching from Jasmin's Twitter or you're watching from my Twitter, head on over to YouTube, because that's where the Q&A is going to be. We're going to end this on Twitter, so that it's just the podcast over on Twitter. So join us over on YouTube for the Q&A portion of this, and we're going to get into that. There's a bunch of other stuff to talk about. So Jasmin, where can people find you?
You can just search Jasmin Laine, Jasmin, no E at the end of Jasmine. And my podcast is available pretty well wherever you listen to your podcasts. Daily show goes up at 2:30 Central Time every single weekday.